The wind howled across the red plains of Haven's Edge as Taesung drove his maintenance truck through the canyon. He had been working on this frontier colony for 8 years now, ever since the plague took his wife and son. The isolation suited him. Out here in the northern sector, he could focus on fixing terraforming equipment and forget about the pain that still lived in his chest. He was 43 years old and had no plans beyond surviving each day. The colony administrators left him alone because he did good work. The other colonists respected his desire for solitude. Everyone knew his story. Everyone gave him space. The scanner on his dashboard beeped. Taesung frowned. The reading showed a heat signature in the canyon below, but nothing was supposed to be out here. He slowed the truck and checked again. The signature was fading fast. Probably a meteorite, he thought, but something made him stop. Taesung climbed out and walked to the edge of the cliff. Below, partially hidden by red rocks, he saw metal, not meteor metal. This was manufactured sleek and completely wrong for this empty place. His heart began to beat faster. He grabbed his climbing gear and made his way down. The object was an escape pod. That much was clear. But the design was unlike anything Taesung had seen before. The metal seemed to shimmer even in the fading light. Strange symbols covered the surface. He found a seam and pulled. The hatch opened with a hiss. Inside, a woman lay dying. She was not human. Her skin had a pale blue tint and silver markings ran along her face and arms. These markings glowed faintly, pulsing like a heartbeat. Her eyes, when they opened, were entirely golden. Blood, dark purple blood, covered her chest. Next to her, pressed against the wall, was a child. The little girl looked about 4 years old. She had the same pale blue skin and golden eyes as the woman. The same silver markings, though hers were smaller, more delicate. The child stared at Taesung with absolute terror. The woman reached out and grabbed his arm. Her grip was surprisingly strong. She spoke, and though her accent was thick and strange, he could understand her galactic common. "Please," she whispered. "My daughter. They cannot find her. They will kill her." "Who?" Taesung asked, kneeling beside her. "Who's after you?" "No time. Her name is Hana. Protect her. Hide her. Promise me." The woman's eyes locked onto his. Even dying, there was such intensity in that gaze. Such desperate hope. Taesung had seen that look before. His own wife had looked at him that way when the plague took her, begging him to save their son. He had failed then. He had watched helplessly as both of them died. "I promise," he said. The woman smiled. The glow in her markings faded. Her hand fell from his arm. She was gone. Taesung sat back on his heels, breathing hard. What had he just done? He looked at the child. Hana. She was crying silently, tears running down her blue cheeks. She did not make a sound. He had two choices. He could report this to the colony authorities. They would take the child, investigate, probably hand her over to the Galactic Alliance. Questions would be asked. These people, whoever they were clearly running from something. If he reported this, the child might end up exactly where her mother feared, or he could lie. Taesung made his decision in seconds. He reached out slowly, carefully to the little girl. She flinched but did not pull away. "It's okay," he said softly in Korean, then switched to Galactic Common. "I won't hurt you. I'm going to help you." He picked her up. She was so light. She buried her face against his shoulder and finally, she sobbed. The sound broke his heart. He held her while she cried, this alien child who had just lost everything. Taesung worked quickly. He searched the pod and found a small bag with clothes and a strange device he could not identify. He took both. Then he spent an hour destroying the pod's tracking systems and communication equipment. He was no expert, but he knew enough about technology to make it look like the systems had failed in the crash. The bodies. That was harder. He pulled the woman's body from the pod and carried her up the cliff. There was a cave nearby, one he had found during previous maintenance runs. He laid her there as respectfully as he could. Someday, maybe, he could tell Hana where her mother rested. But not now. Now they needed to disappear. He drove home with Hana sitting in the passenger seat. She had stopped crying but had not spoken. Her golden eyes watched everything. Those eyes were too intelligent, too aware. This was no ordinary 4-year-old child, if that was even her real age. Who knew how alien species aged? Taesung's home was a small prefab unit on the edge of the colony settlement. Nobody visited him here. That was good. He carried Hana inside and set her down on the couch. She looked around slowly, taking in the simple furniture, the pictures of his dead family on the wall, the Korean calendar hanging by the kitchen. "Are you hungry?" he asked. She nodded. He made her soup. Plain vegetable soup, nothing that might harm an alien system. She ate slowly, carefully. When she finished, she looked up at him. "Thank you," she said in perfect galactic common. Her voice was small but clear. "You're welcome, Hana. Are you going to keep me?" The question stunned him, so direct, so adult coming from such a small child. "Yes," he said. "I promised your mother. I'll keep you safe, and they'll look for me. I know. We'll be careful." She nodded as if this made perfect sense. Then she asked, "What do I call you?" Tae-sung had not thought about that. He was not her father, but he had promised to protect her. What was he to her? "My name is Tae-sung. You can call me that." "Tae-sung," she repeated, testing the Korean sounds. "It's hard to say. You'll learn. I'll teach you." That night he created a false identity for her in the colony database. He said she was a refugee from a distant mining colony that had been destroyed in an industrial accident. Half-alien orphans were not uncommon in frontier space. Nobody would look too closely. He filed the adoption papers electronically, backdated them, and altered just enough records to make it believable. When he checked on Hana before going to bed, she was already asleep on the couch, clutching the bag from the pod. In sleep, her markings glowed softly, pulsing with each breath. They cast gentle silver light across her peaceful face. Tae-sung stood there for a long time, watching this strange child who had fallen into his life. He thought about his son, who would have been about her age if he had lived. He thought about promises made to dying women. He thought about second chances. "I won't let you down," he whispered into the darkness. "Not this time." Outside, the wind continued to howl across the red plains, and somewhere in the vast galaxy, someone was searching for a lost princess. But tonight, in a small prefab home on a frontier world, a lonely man and a frightened child had found each other. Neither of them knew that this moment would change the fate of entire civilizations. 10 years passed like water flowing down a stream. The scared little girl who once hid in an escape pod had become a teenager. Hana was 14 now, or at least that was the age they celebrated. Nobody knew for sure how Valtheon aging worked, but she seemed to grow like a human child. Tae-sung watched her walk toward him across the school courtyard. She wore the standard colony school uniform and carried a backpack covered in stickers. Her silver markings, which had once glowed so brightly, were now hidden under special makeup he had taught her to apply. Cosmetic technology had advanced enough that her pale blue skin could pass as a rare human pigmentation disorder. Her golden eyes were harder to hide, but colored contact lenses helped. To anyone watching, she was just another teenage girl. A bit different looking, perhaps, but nothing extraordinary. That was exactly what they needed, Appa. She called out using the Korean word for father. She had started calling him that when she was 6, and his heart still swelled every time he heard it. "How was school?" he asked as she reached the truck. "Boring. We learned about the Galactic Alliance trade routes again. I already know all of that." She climbed into the passenger seat. "Minji wants me to come over tonight, can I?" Minji was Hana's best friend, a human girl who had moved to Haven's Edge 3 years ago. She was one of the few people who knew Hana was not human, and she did not care at all. "Did you finish your homework?" "Appa, it's Friday." "That's not an answer," Hana grinned. "Yes, I finished it. Can I go?" "Be home by 10. She hugged him quickly before jumping out of the truck. Tae-sung watched her run toward Minji's house, her backpack bouncing. She looked so normal, so happy he had done that. He had given her a childhood, but he worried. He worried every single day. The colony had grown larger over the years. More ships came through the system now. Sometimes late at night, Tae-sung would see unusual vessels passing overhead, ships that did not follow standard traffic patterns, ships that seemed to be searching for something. He kept his old scanner active, monitoring communications. He had learned to recognize certain patterns. Whenever he detected search algorithms or unusual inquiry patterns, he would keep Hana home from school for a few days. He told people she was sick. Most believed him. Hana was smart enough to understand the danger. She knew that somewhere out there, people were still looking for her. She just did not know who she really was. Tae-sung had told her the truth about finding her, about her mother's death, but he had kept the rest hidden. He did not know the full story himself, and he thought it was better that way. What he could not hide was her growing abilities. It had started small. When she was 7, she always knew when he was sad, even when he tried to hide it. When she was 9, she could tell when people were lying. By 11, she could sense emotions from across a room. Now, at 14, her abilities had grown stronger. She called it feeling. She could feel what others felt. Fear, joy, anger, love. It was overwhelming sometimes. Tae-sung had taught her meditation techniques, ways to block out the noise. It helped, but not always, and there were the dreams. Hana had told him about them. Dreams of vast fleets of ships stretching across space. Dreams of golden palaces with crystal spires. Dreams of crowds of people, all of them with blue skin and golden eyes, all of them bowing. She always woke up from these dreams confused and frightened. They're just dreams, Tae-sung would tell her, holding her until she calmed down. But he wondered. He wondered what memories might be locked in her mind, what genetic knowledge her species might carry. One evening, about a month after the school courtyard conversation, everything changed. Tae-sung got a call from the school. There had been an accident. He needed to come immediately. His blood turned to ice as he drove faster than he should have. All he could think was that they had found her, that his worst fear had come true. But when he arrived, he found something different. A crane had malfunctioned during construction work near the school. A support beam had fallen, heading straight for a group of students. Minji had been in the path. According to witnesses, Hana had screamed and reached out her hand. Then something impossible happened. The beam stopped in midair. It hung there, suspended, while Hana stood with her arm extended. Her silver markings blazed through the makeup, bright as stars. Her eyes glowed pure gold. The beam slowly lowered to the ground, away from the students. Then Hana collapsed. By the time Tae-sung arrived, the school had already called the Colony Medical Center. Hana was unconscious but alive. Minji was unhurt. And everyone had questions. Tae-sung sat by her hospital bed while she slept. The colony doctor, an older woman named Jae-hee, had examined her carefully. Her biology is definitely not fully human, Jae-hee said quietly. But you knew that already, didn't you? Tae-sung nodded. There was no point in lying now. I won't report it, Jae-hee continued. That girl saved 4 children today. Whatever she is, wherever she came from, she's got a good heart. That's what matters to me. She paused. But others saw what happened. Word will spread. I know. Be careful, Tae-sung. There are people in this galaxy who would use someone like her. People who would hurt her to understand her. I've been careful for 10 years. I'll keep being careful. Jae-hee nodded and left them alone. Hana woke an hour later. Her eyes opened slowly and she looked around in confusion before seeing Tae-sung. Appa? What happened? You saved Minji. You saved several kids. I did? She sat up slowly. I don't really remember. I just saw Minji in danger and I reached out and... She trailed off, staring at her hands. There was so much power. It felt like I was connected to something huge. How do you feel now? Tired and scared? Everyone saw, didn't they? Some people did. Will they take me away? Tae-sung took her hand. No, I won't let them. We'll figure this out together. But even as he said it, he knew something had shifted. They could not hide anymore. Not completely. The secret was out, at least partially. People in the colony were talking. Some were afraid. Some were curious. Some were angry that he had lied about her origins. The next few weeks were difficult. Some parents did not want Hana in school with their children. Others defended her, pointing out that she had saved lives. The colony council held meetings. Tae-sung attended every single one, standing beside his daughter. She's been here for 10 years, he told them. She's grown up with your children. She's one of us. What does it matter that her biology is different? In the end, the council voted to let her stay. But the damage was done. Everyone looked at Hana differently now. Some with wonder, some with fear, some with calculation. Tae-sung saw merchants and travelers taking second glances at her. He saw people recording videos on their devices. He knew it was only a matter of time before the wrong person noticed. Before someone recognized what she might be. He increased his security measures. He taught Hana to be more careful with her abilities. He prepared as much as anyone could prepare for the day when their quiet life would end. But for now, they still had each other. Hana still came home every day. She still called him Appa. She still helped him cook dinner, mixing Korean recipes with strange alien spices she seemed to instinctively know how to use. She still laughed at his jokes and rolled her eyes at his worries. One night, as they sat on the porch watching the sunset, Hana leaned against his shoulder. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked quietly. "Finding me?" "Never. Not once. Even though I've made your life complicated?" "You made my life worth living again," Taesung said. "After I lost my family, I was just going through motions. You gave me purpose. You gave me joy. You're my daughter, Hana. Biology doesn't change that." She was quiet for a moment. "I love you, Appa." "I love you too." Above them, stars began to appear in the darkening sky. Somewhere among those stars, an empire searched for its lost heir. Somewhere, fleets moved through space, hunting for a girl they had never stopped looking for. But that night, on a small porch on a frontier world, a father and daughter watched the sunset together, and for that moment, nothing else mattered. The merchant ship arrived on a Tuesday afternoon. It was a standard transport vessel, nothing remarkable about it. The captain, a weathered man named Daeho, had been trading in this sector for 20 years. He knew every backwater colony and frontier outpost between here and the core worlds. He came to Haven's Edge looking for spare parts. His ship needed repairs, and the colony had developed a decent manufacturing sector over the years. He planned to stay 3 days, buy what he needed, and leave. Simple business. Then he saw Hana in the market. She was shopping with Minji, both girls laughing about something. Hana had her hair pulled back, and the angle of the sunlight caught her face just right. For a moment, her contact lens shifted, revealing a flash of pure gold. Daeho nearly dropped the equipment module he was carrying. His hands started shaking. He set the module down carefully and walked away quickly, his heart pounding. It could not be. It was impossible. The Valtheon were extinct. Everyone knew that, but he had seen them before years ago when he was a young trader. He had done business at the Imperial Palace on Velthros Prime. He remembered the royal family, the way they looked, the distinctive markings, those golden eyes that seemed to see through you. This girl, this teenage girl shopping in a frontier market, she had those same features. Daeho spent the rest of the day investigating quietly. He learned that the girl's name was Hana, that she lived with a man named Taesung, that she had been on Haven's Edge for many years. He learned about the incident at the school, about her unusual abilities. The pieces fit together in a way that terrified him. He knew what he should do. He should report this to the authorities, to one of the many factions fighting over the remnants of the Valtheon Empire. There were people who would pay him enough money to retire on a paradise world. There were also people who would kill him just for knowing this information. Instead, that evening he went to Taesung's house. Taesung opened the door cautiously. He did not recognize the visitor. "Can I help you?" "My name is Daeho. I'm a merchant captain. I need to talk to you about your daughter. It's important, please." Something in the man's voice made Taesung step aside. He led Daeho into the small living room, but positioned himself between the merchant and the hallway where Hana's room was located. "Say what you need to say." Daeho looked around nervously, then spoke quietly. "How much do you know about the Valtheon?" Taesung's expression did not change, but his body tensed. "I don't know what you're talking about. Please, I'm not here to cause trouble. But I saw your daughter today. I know what she is. And I think you're in terrible danger." For a long moment, Taesung said nothing. Then he made a decision. "Tell me what you know." Daeho took a breath. 15 years ago, the Valtheon Empire was the largest power in this part of the galaxy. They controlled hundreds of worlds. Their technology was centuries ahead of everyone else. Their empress ruled with wisdom and strength. He paused. Then came the Civil War. I know there was a conflict. Everyone knows that. What everyone doesn't know is the full truth. The empress had enemies within her own court. Powerful nobles who wanted control. They staged a coup. The palace was attacked. The royal family was massacred. The empress, her consort, their children, all killed. Daeho's voice dropped lower. Or so everyone believed. You think Hana is connected to this? I think Hana is this. I think she's the crown princess. The heir everyone believes is dead. Taesung sat down heavily. He had suspected Hana was someone important, but this was beyond anything he had imagined. The Valtheon Empire collapsed after the royal family died. Daeho continued. Without legitimate leadership, different factions started fighting for control. The war has lasted 15 years. Millions have died. Worlds have been destroyed. The empire is now fragments. Dozens of groups all claiming authority. But some people are still looking for the princess. Yes, some factions would kill her to prevent anyone from uniting under her banner. Others would use her as a puppet ruler. And some, the loyalists, they've never stopped searching because they genuinely want to restore the legitimate government. Taesung rubbed his face with both hands. How did you recognize her? I did business at the Imperial Palace when I was young. I saw the royal family. Your daughter has the same features, the same markings. Those features are unique to the royal bloodline. Daeho leaned forward. If I recognized her, others will too. Word is already spreading through the merchant networks about the unusual alien girl on Haven's Edge. It's only a matter of time. What do you want? Nothing. I'm telling you this because that girl saved lives at her school. I heard the story. She's a good person, and good people are rare in this galaxy. You need to be prepared for what's coming. After Daeho left, Taesung sat alone in the dark for hours. An empire. Hana was supposed to rule an empire. The little girl he had found in a crashed pod who learned to make kimchi and complained about homework was a crown princess. He thought about her mother's desperate words. They cannot find her. They will kill her. Now it made terrible sense. Hana emerged from her room around midnight. She had been doing homework but must have heard the visitor leave. Who was that man? Come sit down. We need to talk. Taesung told her everything Daeho had revealed. He watched her face as he spoke. Watched confusion turn to shock, turn to disbelief. An empire? That's insane, Appa. I'm just me. I'm just Hana. You're the crown princess of the Valtheon. You're the rightful heir to one of the largest empires in known space. I don't want to be. Her voice rose. I don't want any of that. I want to be here with you, with Minji. I want my normal life. I know, but we might not have a choice anymore. People are noticing you. If Daeho figured it out, others will too. Hana stood and paced the room. Her markings glowed brighter as her emotions intensified. What if we ran? We could go to another colony somewhere remote. They've been searching for 15 years. They won't stop. Running will only delay the inevitable. Then what do we do? Taesung stood and put his hands on her shoulders. We stay vigilant. We prepare. And we face whatever comes together. You're not alone in this, Hana. You'll never be alone. She hugged him tightly. I don't care about crowns or empires. You're my real family. That's all that matters, I know. And nothing will change that. But even as he held her, Taesung knew everything was about to change. The secret was out. The galaxy was shifting. And soon, very soon, the Empire would come for its lost princess. Over the next few weeks, Taesung noticed the signs. More ships in orbit. Strangers asking questions in the colony. His monitoring equipment picked up encrypted communications. Someone was taking an interest in Haven's Edge. Multiple someones. He upgraded his home security. He taught Hana defensive techniques. He made contingency plans for evacuation. But deep down, he knew preparation would not be enough. When an empire came calling, what could one man do? Hana tried to continue her normal life. She went to school. She spent time with Minji. She helped her father with his work. But the dreams came more frequently now. Dreams of golden palaces. Dreams of faces she almost recognized. Dreams of a mother she barely remembered. Whispering words in a language she had never learned but somehow understood. The stars remember, her mother's voice said in these dreams. The Empire awaits. Come home, little star. Come home. Hana would wake sweating, her markings glowing bright in the darkness. And each time she would hear Taesung moving in the house, checking locks, monitoring sensors, staying awake to keep her safe. One night, unable to sleep, she found him on the porch. He was looking at the stars with an expression of worry she had never seen before. Appa? He turned. Can't sleep? Too many dreams. She sat beside him. Are you scared? Terrified, he admitted. But not for myself. For you. Whatever happens, we face it together, right? Right. Above them, the stars shone cold and distant. And somewhere among those stars, a vast fleet was preparing to move. The Empire had found its lost princess. And nothing would ever be the same again. 3 days later, the sensors began screaming. Taesung ran to his computer and saw what his monitoring equipment had detected. Ships. Hundreds of ships. Thousands of ships. They were emerging from hyperspace at the edge of the system. The Empire had arrived. 3 years had passed since Daeho's warning. Hana was 17 now, preparing for university entrance exams. The increased security had become normal. The occasional strange ship in orbit had become background noise. Life had continued, cautious but peaceful. Then, on an ordinary morning, everything changed. The sky above Haven's Edge filled with ships. Not dozens. Not hundreds. Thousands of vessels appeared simultaneously, their hulls bearing a symbol the colony database recognized immediately, the ancient crest of the Valtheon Empire, thought extinct for nearly 2 decades. The ships ranged from small fighters to massive carriers that blocked out the sun. Panic swept through the colony. People ran through the streets. The colony defense force went on high alert, though their handful of patrol ships were laughable against such a fleet. The colony administrator broadcast an emergency message, but his voice shook with fear. Taesung pulled Hana close as they stood in their doorway, watching the sky darken with ships. His mind raced through impossible scenarios. Fight, flee, hide. Before he could decide, a message came through on every communication device in the colony. A female voice speaking perfect galactic common, calm and respectful. People of Haven's Edge, we mean no harm. We are the united fleet of the Valtheon Empire. We seek an audience with the one known as the Caretaker of the Lost Star. We will send a small delegation to the surface. Please do not be alarmed. We come in peace. Taesung's blood ran cold. The Caretaker of the Lost Star. They meant him. They knew about Hana, and they knew he had protected her. Appa? Hana's voice was small, frightened. What do we do? We face it, he said, trying to sound braver than he felt. Together. An hour later, a single shuttle descended to the colony's main square. Taesung and Hana stood waiting, surrounded by nervous colony security forces. The entire population seemed to have gathered, watching from a distance. The shuttle door opened. The first to emerge was an elderly Valtheon woman in military uniform. She was tall and dignified, her silver markings forming complex patterns across her face and hands. Behind her came a dozen soldiers, their weapons holstered, their posture respectful rather than threatening. The elderly woman walked forward slowly, her golden eyes fixed on Hana, and something in her expression crumbled. Tears began to run down her blue cheeks. She stopped 3 meters away and then, to everyone's shock, she knelt. All the soldiers behind her knelt as well. Imperial Majesty, the woman said, her voice breaking. We have searched so long. The Empire has waited so long. You have returned to us. Hana stepped back, pressing against Taesung. I don't understand. The woman looked up, still kneeling. Forgive me. I am Admiral Sora of the Imperial Fleet. I was your mother's personal guard. I was there the night of the coup. She touched her chest. I failed to protect her, but I swore I would find you. I swore I would bring you home. My mother? Hana's voice barely whispered. You knew my mother? I knew the Empress. I watched you grow from a baby. You probably don't remember me, Your Majesty. You were so small when we had to send you away. Sora's voice steadied slightly. Your mother knew the coup was coming. We arranged your escape. A loyal servant took you and fled into deep space, hoping to hide you until we could restore order. But the Civil War lasted so much longer than anyone expected. Taesung found his voice. The woman who brought her here. She said they couldn't find Hana, that they would kill her. Sora nodded, still kneeling. Yes, the traitors hunted for Her Majesty relentlessly. Anyone associated with the royal line was executed. We had to be absolutely certain you were safe before we revealed ourselves, Your Majesty. It took 15 years to eliminate the traitor factions, to unite enough of the Empire to protect you. We would not risk coming until we were sure. I'm not a majesty, Hana said desperately. I'm just Hana. I'm just a girl. You are Crown Princess Hana of the House of Light, rightful Empress of the Valtheon people. Sora finally stood, though she kept her head bowed respectfully. You are the last surviving member of the royal bloodline. The Empire has waited for you. We need you. The colony administrator, who had been watching from nearby, stepped forward nervously. This is quite unexpected. Perhaps we should move this conversation somewhere more private. They relocated to the colony council chambers. Taesung refused to leave Hana's side and she clung to his arm. Admiral Sora brought several advisors who began explaining the situation in detail. The Empire had fractured into dozens of factions after the coup. Fighting had consumed entire star systems. Billions had died in the chaos. But slowly over the years, the loyalist factions had begun to unite. They had spent enormous resources hunting down the traitors who had murdered the royal family. 3 years ago, they had finally eliminated the last major threat. Then had come the real work, finding their lost princess. It had taken every intelligence asset, every spy network, every favor called in across the galaxy. When word began to spread about an unusual alien girl on Haven's Edge, multiple factions had investigated. The Loyalist had confirmed her identity first. "What do you want from her?" Taesung asked, his voice hard. "She's lived her whole life here. She's happy. Why would you tear her away from that?" Sora looked at him with something like sympathy. "You must be the one who found her. The one who protected her all these years." "I'm her father." "Yes." Sora bowed to him deeply and formally. "You are the caretaker, the one who saved our empire's future. We owe you a debt that can never be repaid. I don't want payment. I want her to be safe and happy." "So do we." Sora turned back to Hana. "Your Majesty, we are not here to force you into anything, but you must understand. The empire is still fragile. We have a regent government, but it's temporary. The people need legitimate leadership. They need their empress." "I don't know how to be an empress," Hana said. "I don't know anything about your empire or your people. I grew up human. I eat Korean food. I go to school. I study math and history and literature. I'm not qualified to rule anything." One of the advisors, a younger Valtheon male, spoke up. "Forgive me, Your Majesty, but you demonstrated considerable power 3 years ago. The reports say you stopped a falling beam with your mind, saved multiple lives. That is the royal gift. Only the bloodline carries such power." Hana looked uncomfortable. "I can sense emotions. Sometimes I can move things, but I can't control it well. It just happens." "Because you have not been trained," Sora said gently. "Your mother had decades to learn control. You have had no teachers. But the power is in you, the connection to the imperial essence. It is your birthright." Taesung watched Hana's face. He could see her struggling, torn between the life she knew and a destiny she had never asked for. Finally she spoke. "I won't leave my father. I won't go anywhere without him." "Of course not," Sora said immediately. "We would not ask that. The caretaker will be honored and protected for the rest of his life. He will want for nothing. That's not what I mean. He's not a trophy or a pet. He's my family. If I go anywhere, he comes as an equal, as someone I trust and respect. If you can't accept that, then I won't help you." There was steel in Hana's voice that Taesung had never heard before. Despite his fear, despite everything, he felt a surge of pride. She was 17 years old and standing up to an admiral of a galactic empire. Sora smiled slightly. "You have your mother's spirit. She would be proud." She bowed again. "Your terms are accepted, Your Majesty. The caretaker will be honored as he deserves." They talked for hours, negotiating details. Hana refused to leave Haven's Edge permanently. Sora proposed a compromise. The Empire would establish a presence on Haven's Edge. Hana could continue her life while slowly learning about her heritage and responsibilities. When she was ready, she could make decisions about her future. "We are in no rush," Sora said. "The Empire has waited 18 years. We can wait longer if needed. But Your Majesty, you should know. Your people are desperate to see you, to know that the royal line survives. Your presence gives them hope." As they left the council chambers, Taesung pulled Hana aside. "You don't have to do this. We can find a way to run, to hide." "No, Appa, we've been running and hiding for years. I'm tired of it." She looked out the window at the massive fleet overhead. "Those people out there, they're my people. My mother's people. They've suffered because of the coup. Maybe I can help them. Maybe this is why I survived when everyone else died." "You're 17. You should be worrying about exams and friends, not empires." She smiled sadly. "I stopped being a normal 17-year-old the moment I stopped that beam." We both knew this day would come. That night, Taesung stood on his porch looking at the fleet overhead. Minji came to visit. She found him there and stood beside him. "Is she really a princess?" Minji asked. "Apparently. Are you going to be okay?" Taesung thought about that. His simple life was over. The quiet existence he had built was shattered. Everything would change now. But when he looked through the window and saw Hana inside, talking with advisors but still wearing her school uniform, still being his daughter, he realized something. "I'll be okay as long as she's okay. That's all that matters." The Empire had arrived. The caretaker's duty was far from over. But as the fleet's lights glittered in the sky like a sea of stars, Taesung made a silent promise. No matter what came next, no matter how much changed, he would keep protecting her. Some promises, once made, last forever. The transformation began immediately. Haven's Edge, once a quiet frontier colony, became the center of galactic attention overnight. Ships arrived daily bringing supplies, personnel, and diplomatic envoys. Construction crews began building new structures while carefully preserving the colony's original character. Admiral Sora moved fast but respectfully. She had promised Hana could stay on Haven's Edge, and she kept that promise. Instead of taking the princess to some distant capital world, the Empire would come to her. Taesung watched the changes with mixed feelings. Part of him hated seeing his simple colony transformed. But another part felt gratified that Sora was keeping her word. Hana was not being dragged away. She still came home every evening. She still helped cook dinner, though now she also attended lessons on Valtheon history and Imperial protocol. 1 week after the fleet's arrival, Sora requested a formal meeting with Taesung alone. He found her in a newly constructed building that served as temporary Imperial headquarters. She was reviewing reports but stood when he entered, offering him a respectful bow. "Please sit, Caretaker. We have much to discuss." "Just call me Taesung." Sora smiled slightly. "That would be improper. You may not understand yet, but you hold a position of tremendous importance now." She gestured to a holographic display. "The Empire wishes to honor you formally. We want to grant you a noble title and estate." I don't want that. "I understand. But please, let me explain." Sora manipulated the display, showing images of planets and cities. "The Empire has been shattered by war. Our people need symbols of hope. They need to know that even in the darkest times there were those who protected what mattered most. You saved their empress. You gave her a childhood, kept her safe, raised her with love and wisdom. That story matters. I'm not a story. I'm just a man who found a child. You are more than that. You are proof that compassion transcends species, that a human with no obligation to an alien empire chose to protect its future." Sora leaned forward. "Your actions will be taught in schools for generations. Children across 1,000 worlds will learn about the caretaker of the lost star. You have become legend whether you wanted it or not." Taesung rubbed his face tiredly. "What exactly are you proposing?" "We want to formally name you as Lord Protector, with the title Father of the Empire. You would have estates, wealth, and political influence. Most importantly, you would have a formal role in Hana's life and governance. No one could question your place at her side." "I already have a place at her side. I'm her father. Legally, under Imperial law, you are not. She's of age to be considered independent. Without formal recognition, you could be separated from her by court politics or legal maneuvering. This title protects your relationship. It makes it official and unbreakable." That caught Taesung's attention. The idea that someone might try to separate him from Hana had not occurred to him. "What would I have to do?" "Very little that you don't already do. Advise her. Guide her. Continue being her father. The Empire asks nothing more." Taesung considered. "If I accept, I have conditions. I keep living in my house. I keep working as an engineer. I don't want palaces or servants or any of that. And Hana finishes her education. She goes to university if she wants. She gets to have as much normal life as possible." "Agreed to all terms. Though I must tell you, your house is already being upgraded for security. The Empire cannot risk the safety of either of you." "Fine, as long as it's still my house." Sora nodded. "One more thing. The formal ceremony will be broadcast across the Empire. Billions will watch. Are you prepared for that level of attention?" "No, but I'll do it for Hana." The ceremony took place 2 weeks later in Haven's Edge's main square, which had been transformed into a grand plaza. Thousands of Valtheon citizens had arrived from across the Empire to witness the event. Human colonists mixed with blue-skinned aliens, all gathered to see their empress formally acknowledge the man who saved her. Taesung wore formal clothes that felt uncomfortable and foreign. He stood on a raised platform beside Hana, who wore her first imperial regalia. The silver dress with its complex patterns made her look older, more regal. But when she glanced at him nervously, he saw the same frightened little girl from 17 years ago. Admiral Sora presided over the ceremony. Her voice carried across the plaza, amplified by technology. "Today we honor a debt that can never be fully repaid. 18 years ago, this man found a dying mother and her child. He could have ignored them. He could have reported them to authorities. Instead, he made a promise to a stranger. He promised to protect her daughter. The crowd was silent, listening. Taesung of Haven's Edge kept that promise. He raised the crown princess as his own child. He taught her, protected her, loved her. He asked for nothing in return. He expected no reward. He simply kept his word to a dying woman. Sora turned to him. Such honor, such compassion, such humanity deserves recognition. The Empire will remember your sacrifice for all time. Hana stepped forward. Her voice shook slightly, but she spoke clearly. Taesung, you gave me everything. A home, a childhood, a father. You made me who I am today. No title or reward will ever be enough to repay that. But I want the Empire to know what you mean to me. She placed a ceremonial collar around his neck, a symbol of the highest imperial honor. Then she did something not in the planned ceremony. She hugged him tightly, crying. Thank you, Appa, she whispered so only he could hear. Thank you for finding me. The crowd erupted in cheers. Not just the Valtheon citizens, but the human colonists too. People who had known Taesung for years, who had watched him raise Hana, who understood what this moment meant. In the following months, life settled into a new rhythm. Haven's Edge grew rapidly but carefully. The Empire built schools, medical facilities, and cultural centers. They brought technology and trade. The colony prospered. Hana balanced her old life with her new responsibilities. She still attended regular school but also took lessons in governance and imperial history. She still spent time with Minji but also met with ambassadors and advisors. She struggled with the balance, but Taesung was always there to help. He found his own balance too. He worked on engineering projects, helping design the new infrastructure. His understanding of human and now Valtheon technology made him invaluable, but he rejected most of the luxury offered to him. He lived in his original house, though it was now surrounded by gardens and security. One evening, 6 months after the fleet's arrival, a crisis emerged. Reports came in of an attack. A group of traitor holdouts, remnants of the faction that had killed Hana's mother, had infiltrated Haven's Edge. Their goal was clear: assassinate the princess before she could fully claim her throne. Security forces scrambled. Taesung ran home, his heart pounding. But the attackers had planned well. They had inside information. They knew exactly when Hana would be vulnerable. She was attending a public ceremony, celebrating the opening of a new school. Hundreds of children were present, both human and Valtheon. Taesung arrived just as the attack began. The assassins moved through the crowd, weapons hidden. They got close to Hana before security realized. Taesung saw the danger a split second before anyone else. He saw the weapon being raised, saw the assassin's finger on the trigger. He did not think. He just moved. Taesung threw himself in front of Hana as the weapon fired. The shot meant for her heart struck his chest instead. He felt the impact, the burning pain, the sensation of falling. He heard Hana screaming. The plaza erupted into chaos. Security forces killed the assassins within seconds, but Taesung lay on the ground, blood spreading across his chest. Hana knelt beside him, her hands glowing as she tried desperately to heal him, but she did not know how. Appa, no. Stay with me. Please stay with me. Taesung tried to speak but could not. Everything was fading. He looked up at her face, at those golden eyes filled with tears, and he thought how beautiful she had grown. How proud he was. How lucky he had been to be her father. Medical teams arrived, their advanced technology immediately stabilizing him. They rushed him to the medical facility while Hana held his hand, refusing to let go. In the surgical bay, Valtheon doctors worked with desperate urgency. The weapon had done severe damage, but their technology was advanced. They could save him. They would save him. The Empire's father could not die. Not like this. Not after everything. Hours passed. Hana sat outside the surgical bay, covered in his blood, surrounded by advisors and friends, but completely alone in her fear. Minji sat beside her, holding her hand. Admiral Sora stood guard nearby, her expression grim. Finally, the doctor emerged. He will live. The damage was severe, but we have repaired it. He needs time to heal, but he will survive. Hana collapsed in relief, sobbing. Sora caught her, held her. He is strong, Your Majesty. As strong as any warrior I have known. He will be fine. When Taesung woke hours later, the first thing he saw was Hana asleep in a chair beside his bed. Her hand clutched his. Even in sleep, she would not let go. He squeezed her hand gently. She woke immediately, her eyes wide. Appa, I'm here, he said, his voice rough. I'm okay, you idiot. She cried, angry and relieved. You could have died. You almost died. But you didn't, that's all that matters. I'm the medical bay, hummed with quiet technology. Machines monitored Taesung's vital signs while advanced Valtheon healing systems worked to repair the damage. He had been unconscious for 3 days after the initial surgery. Now finally awake, he faced the long process of recovery. Hana refused to leave. She had a cot brought into the room and slept beside his bed. Advisors tried to convince her to attend to Imperial duties, but she simply ignored them. Admiral Sora eventually ordered everyone to leave the princess alone. She almost lost her father, Sora told the frustrated advisors. The Empire can wait. On the 4th day, when Taesung was strong enough to sit up and talk properly, they finally had the conversation both of them had been avoiding. I've been thinking, Hana said quietly. She sat in the chair beside his bed, holding his hand. About everything that's happened. About who I am and what I'm supposed to do. And I've been selfish. I've been trying to keep my old life while ignoring what my people need. The Empire is suffering. They need leadership. They need their empress. And I've been pretending I could just stay a normal girl forever. Taesung squeezed her hand. You're 18 years old. You're allowed to want a normal life. But I'm not normal. I never was. She looked at him with those golden eyes. You almost died protecting me. That man who raised me, who gave me everything, almost died because I was too scared to accept my responsibilities. That's not fair to yourself, isn't it? Her voice cracked. If I had accepted my role earlier, if I had proper security, if I had taken this seriously instead of pretending I was just a colony girl, maybe you wouldn't have been hurt. Or maybe I would have. Maybe this was always going to happen. You can't blame yourself for the actions of assassins. But Hana shook her head. I need to grow up, Appa. I need to be what my people need me to be, not someday. Now. Taesung saw the determination in her face and felt a mixture of pride and sadness. His little girl was becoming an empress before his eyes. What are you saying? I'm saying I want to formally accept my position as empress. Not as a figurehead. Not as a future possibility. As the actual ruler. I want to take control of the Empire and start fixing what's broken. Over the next weeks, as Taesung recovered, he watched Hana transform. She threw herself into learning everything about her empire. She studied history, politics, economics, and military strategy. She met with the Regent Council and began asserting her authority. She was still young, still learning, but she showed a natural instinct for leadership. Taesung saw glimpses of the woman her mother must have been. Hana balanced strength with compassion. She listened to advice but made her own decisions. She was firm when needed but always tried to find peaceful solutions first. She also insisted on bringing her human upbringing into her rule. She appointed Minji as her cultural advisor. Despite Minji's protests that she knew nothing about politics, she kept her house on Haven's Edge as her primary residence, refusing to move to a palace. She held meetings in Korean as often as in Galactic Common, forcing her advisors to learn. My father taught me these things, she told the council when they questioned her choices. He taught me that power means nothing without compassion. That strength is measured by how you treat the weak, not the strong. These are human values, and they will guide this empire from now on. The council bowed to her wisdom. During his recovery, Taesung had many visitors. Colonists from Haven's Edge brought him food and well wishes. Valtheon citizens from across the empire sent messages thanking him for saving their empress. Minji came every day to keep him company and share gossip about how badly Hana was terrifying the advisors. But the most meaningful visit came from Admiral Sora. She entered the medical bay with a small box in her hands. She looked older, tired. The weight of years spent searching for her lost princess showed in her face. How are you feeling, Lord Protector? Better. The doctors say I'll make a full recovery. He gestured to a chair. Sit. You look like you need to. Sora sat with a grateful sigh. These past weeks have been difficult. The assassination attempt has shaken everyone. We thought we had eliminated all the traitor factions, but clearly some remained hidden. Are they dealt with now? Yes, completely. Her Majesty was quite ruthless in her response. She has her mother's strength when it matters. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Sora opened the box she had brought. Inside was a small holographic projector. She activated it and an image appeared in the air between them. A woman, blue skin, silver markings, golden eyes. She wore imperial regalia and held a baby in her arms. The baby had the same features, the same markings. Mother and daughter clearly loved. This is the only recording I have of the Empress with Princess Hana. It was taken 3 days before the coup, 3 days before everything ended. Taesung stared at the image. This was Hana's mother, the woman who had died in his arms 18 years ago. She looked different in the recording. Healthy, happy, powerful. But he could see the same desperate love in her eyes when she looked at her baby that he had seen in her final moments. "I wanted you to see this," Sora said softly. "I wanted you to know what you saved." The Empress was a great ruler. She brought peace to hundreds of worlds. She reformed unjust laws. She protected the weak and punished the cruel. She was everything an Empress should be. Hana will be like her. I believe so. But Hana has something her mother never had. Sora looked at him. She had a father who taught her to be kind. The Empress was raised in a palace, trained from birth to rule. She was great, but she was also distant. Hana will be greater, because she learned to love ordinary people. She learned that from you. Taesung felt his throat tighten. I just did what any father would do. No, most would not have even stopped to help. Most would have reported the crash and moved on with their lives. You chose differently. You chose to keep a promise to a dying woman. That choice saved an empire. After Sora left, Taesung lay in bed looking at the holographic image she had left with him. He studied the face of the woman who had trusted him with her most precious treasure. He hoped she knew wherever she was that he had kept his promise. A month after the assassination attempt, Taesung was finally released from the medical facility. His recovery was complete, though he would carry scars for the rest of his life. Hana insisted on walking him home personally, dismissing all offers of vehicles or security escorts beyond the necessary minimum. They walked together through the transformed colony.
Haven's Edge had become something between a human settlement and a Valtheon city.
Buildings mixed architectural styles. Gardens featured both Earth and alien plants. Signs appeared in multiple languages. It was a strange hybrid, but it worked. As they walked, people stopped to bow or wave. Children ran up asking for autographs from both of them. Hana handled it all with grace, though Taesung could see the strain around her eyes. When they finally reached his house, now surrounded by beautiful gardens and discreet security, Hana stopped. "Appa, can I ask you something?" "Anything. Do you regret it? Finding me? If you could go back and make a different choice, would you?" Taesung looked at her, really looked at her. She was 18 now, beautiful and powerful. An empress in truth. But he still saw the frightened 4-year-old who had cried in his arms. He still saw the girl who learned to make kimchi and complained about homework. He still saw his daughter. "Never," he said firmly. "Not for 1 second. You gave my life meaning again. After I lost my wife and son, I was just existing. You made me live again. You made me a father again. I would do it all over exactly the same way." She hugged him tightly. "I love you, Appa. Thank you for not giving up on me. Thank you for taking that risk 18 years ago. I love you too, and I'll always be here, no matter what." That night, Taesung sat on his porch as he had so many times before, but now instead of a quiet frontier colony, he looked out at a city that served as the capital of a galactic empire. Instead of empty sky, ships moved overhead in carefully controlled patterns. Instead of isolation, he was surrounded by people who called him hero. Everything had changed. But somehow, in the ways that mattered most, everything was the same. He was still a father watching over his daughter. He was still keeping a promise made to a dying woman. He was still protecting what he loved. A figure approached through the garden. Taesung tensed until he recognized Admiral Sora. She bowed respectfully. "Forgive the intrusion, Lord Protector. I wanted to inform you that the final traitor faction has been eliminated. Her Majesty's investigators found their base and dealt with them. There will be no more assassination attempts." "That's good news." Sora hesitated. "There's something else. In their base we found records, plans. They had been searching for Her Majesty for 18 years. They came close several times. But every time you moved her or changed your routines or took extra security measures, you saved her more times than you ever knew." Taesung absorbed this information. "I just tried to be careful." "You were more than careful. You were brilliant. An empire's worth of intelligence agents couldn't find her because one man was vigilant enough to keep her hidden." Sora bowed deeper. "The empire owes you everything." After she left, Taesung sat alone with his thoughts. He thought about all the close calls, all the times he had felt something was where 5 years had passed since Hana formally accepted the throne. She was 23 now. No longer the uncertain teenager, but a confident empress who ruled with wisdom beyond her years. The empire had entered what historians were already calling the Golden Restoration. Tae-sung stood in his garden, watching the sunrise. At 68, he had finally accepted that his quiet life was permanently gone. But he had found peace with it. His simple prefab house still stood, though it was now the centerpiece of an expansive memorial garden. People came from across the empire to visit the place where the caretaker had raised their empress. He no longer worked as an engineer. His body could not handle the physical demands anymore. Instead, he served as Hana's chief advisor. Officially, his title was Lord Protector and Father of the Empire. Unofficially, he was just Appa, the one person who could tell the Empress when she was being stubborn or making a mistake. The Empire had changed dramatically under Hana's rule. She had restructured the government based on principles of fairness and compassion. She established councils where representatives from different worlds could voice their concerns. She reformed laws that had been unjust. She opened trade with formerly isolated systems, including human space. Most importantly, she had ended the cycle of violence. Where previous rulers had crushed dissent with military force, Hana sought understanding. Where others had valued power, she valued peace. The empire was smaller than it had been in her mother's time, but it was healthier and happier. Haven's Edge had grown into a proper capital city. Human and Valtheon architecture blended seamlessly. Korean restaurants stood beside traditional Valtheon meditation halls. Children of both species played together in parks. The colony that had once been a remote outpost was now the beating heart of an interstellar civilization. Tae-sung's life had settled into a comfortable routine. He woke early, tended his small vegetable garden, and then walked to the Imperial Administration Building. There he attended meetings with Hana and her council. He rarely spoke, but when he did, everyone listened. His simple, practical wisdom often cut through complex political debates. He had lunch with Hana almost every day in her private quarters. She insisted on keeping this time sacred, no matter how busy she became. They would eat Korean food that they cooked together and talk about everything except politics. It was their way of staying connected to who they had been before empires and thrones. Minji still lived on Haven's Edge, too. She had married a Valtheon diplomat and now served as the director of cultural exchange. Her job was to help humans and Valtheon understand each other better. She was brilliant at it, bringing warmth and humor to what could have been dry diplomatic work. One afternoon, as Tae-sung walked through the memorial gardens, he encountered a school group. Young Valtheon children, perhaps 8 or 9 years old, listened as their teacher told them a story. And so the caretaker promised the dying mother that he would protect her daughter. He did not know she was a princess. He did not know she would become empress. He just knew she was a child who needed help. One of the children noticed Tae-sung and whispered loudly to the teacher, "That's him. That's the real caretaker." The teacher's eyes widened. She bowed deeply. "Lord Protector, we did not mean to intrude. You're not intruding. This garden is for everyone." Tae-sung smiled at the children. "What are you learning about today?" "The story of how you saved the Empress," one boy said excitedly. "Is it true you kept her hidden for 18 years? "It's true. Were you scared?" a girl asked. "Every single day. But you did it anyway?" "Of course." "That's what you do when you love someone. You protect them even when you're scared." The children asked more questions and Tae-sung answered patiently. He told them about finding Hana, about teaching her to cook, about helping her with homework. He made it sound simple and normal because to him it had been. The teacher eventually ushered the excited children away, but not before they all thanked him. This happened often now. People wanted to meet the man from the stories. They wanted to see that he was real, that compassion and courage were not just fairy tale concepts. Tae-sung found it exhausting sometimes, but he understood its importance. If his story could inspire people to be kinder and braver, then the attention was worth it. That evening, Hana hosted a small dinner at Tae-sung's house. It was a tradition they had started years ago. Once a week, no matter what else was happening, they would share a meal at his home. Sometimes Minji joined them. Sometimes Admiral Sora, who had become a family friend. Tonight, it was just the two of them. They cooked together, falling into familiar rhythms. Hana chopped vegetables while Tae-sung prepared the rice. They argued good-naturedly about the right amount of spice to use. It could have been a scene from 15 years ago, when she was just his adopted daughter and he was just a lonely engineer. As they ate, Hana brought up something she had been considering. "I've been thinking about getting married." Taesung looked up, surprised. "Oh, to whom?" "There's a human ambassador, Jinho. He's been working on a trade agreement between Earth and the Empire. He's intelligent, kind, and he makes me laugh. We've been seeing each other for a few months now." "And you love him?" "I think I do. But I wanted to talk to you first, before I make any decisions." Taesung put down his chopsticks. "Hana, you're 23 years old and the ruler of an empire. You don't need my permission to fall in love." "I'm not asking for permission. I'm asking for your blessing." "There's a difference." He looked at her across the table. His daughter, who had grown from a frightened child into a wise empress, who had learned to balance power with compassion, who had never forgotten where she came from. "Does he treat you well?" "He does. He's respectful and supportive. He doesn't care that I'm an empress. He just cares that I'm me." "Does he make you happy?" "Very much." "Then you have my blessing." "Completely and without reservation." Hana smiled, relieved. "Thank you, Appa. I know it's silly, but I needed to hear you say it." "It's not silly. Family is never silly." They finished dinner and sat on the porch as they had so many times before. The sky was dark now, filled with stars and the lights of ships moving between worlds. The Empire stretched across the galaxy, vast and complex. But in this moment on this porch, it was just a father and daughter watching the night. "Do you ever think about her?" Hana asked quietly. "My birth mother?" "Sometimes. I think about the courage it took to send you away. To trust a stranger with your life because it was the only way to save you. That's love. The kind that sacrifices everything for the chance that your child might survive. Do you think she would be proud of me?" "I know she would. You've become everything she hoped for and more." They sat in comfortable silence. Then Hana said, "I want to do something for you, for everything you've given me. I don't need anything. I know. But there's something I've been planning anyway." She pulled out a small device and activated it, showing a holographic image. "This is a proposal for a new program. The Caretaker Initiative. It would provide support and resources for anyone who takes in orphans, regardless of species. Education, healthcare, financial assistance. Everything they need to give those children good lives." Taesung stared at the proposal. "This would help millions of children. That's the idea. You saved one life and it changed an empire. Imagine what would happen if we made it easier for others to do the same. We could change the entire galaxy." He felt tears in his eyes. "It's perfect. Your mother would be proud of this too." The Caretaker Initiative launched 3 months later. It became one of the most successful programs in the Empire's history. Adoption rates soared. Orphanages emptied. Children who might have lived in poverty or neglect found loving families instead. And all of it was done in the name of the man who had taken a chance on one frightened little girl. More years passed. Taesung grew older, his hair completely white now, his movements slower. But his mind remained sharp, and Hana still consulted him on every major decision. He attended her wedding to Jinho, walked her down the aisle, and welcomed his son-in-law into the family. He held her first child, a baby girl with blue skin and her grandfather's dark eyes, and cried tears of joy. When he was 75, Hana asked him to write his memoirs. He refused at first, but she insisted. "Future generations need to hear your story in your own words. Not the legend, but the truth. What you thought, what you felt, how you made your decisions. Please, Appa, this is important," so he wrote. He spent a year composing his memories from the day he found the crashed pod to the present. He wrote about his fears, his doubts, his love for the strange little girl who had become his daughter. He wrote about the simple choice to keep a promise and how it had changed everything. The book, simply titled The Caretaker's Promise, became one of the most widely read works in the Empire. It was required reading in schools. Scholars analyzed it, but most people just read it and cried, moved by the simple story of a lonely man who chose kindness. Taesung lived to be 96. He died peacefully in his sleep in his own bed, in the house where he had raised Hana. She was holding his hand when he took his last breath, just as he had held hers on that first frightening night, 18.